Oh no! A shuttle is caught in some swirly. Kaz and Tom are on board and things are dangerous. Not to worry though, as it turns out to just be a simulation. Paris is running Kaz through some scenarios as her flight instructor. And if those simulations he set up happen to make Kaz fall on Paris, pure coincidence, Gov, and definitely not because Tom Paris is a dick. They leave in high spirits. You know who's not in high spirits, though? Neelix, who's been waiting around outside the holodeck for no reason at all. 1 minute 14 seconds in, and 2 of the 3 characters we've seen thus far have been creepy bastards. Let's leave them to it and focus on something more positive. The prospect of everybody starving to death. It seems our food reserves are dwindling. Some good news, though, as Chakotay has found a planet with some plant life. Probably. Maybe. Perhaps. Oh, and one more tiny thing. Scans show it to have such unpleasant atmospheric conditions that the crew have nicknamed it Planet Hell, so I'm sure that will be fine. On the way, Kim decides to get some clarinet practice in. Paris drops by, backhandedly compliments him by being surprised, then puts in a request. Kim thinks his shitty behaviour is because something's bothering him, so we can only assume he wasn't paying attention for the last 22 episodes, but it turns out he's right this time and something is on Paris's mind. The thing in question is Kez, as Paris confesses he's possibly in love with her, or at least his understanding of love anyway. Kim suggests this might actually be Paris's subconscious deliberately fucking him over by setting him up for a fall, and you know what? You might be onto something there, buddy. The theory that his own brain thinks he's a cock is an idea I can get behind. If we're being fair here, the fact that Paris is both acknowledging this problem and discussing it with someone does mean he's at least superficially aware that his behaviour towards women is complete fucking bobbins, so I guess that counts as a tick in the character growth box. Meanwhile, Kez and Neelix are having dinner. She's gushing about the flight lesson, wanting to share her own enjoyment of it with the person she loves. Neelix, however, is fighting to keep a lid on his jealousy, stepping away from the table with an excuse of fetching something when it all gets too much for him, and I think this is the first time I've actually felt something for the character. Ethan Phillips does a good job here of showing frustration without going ham, and it's worth noting how difficult that must have been to pull off with a face covered in latex. We arrive at Planet Hell and discover it has a terrible case of the vapours, only in this instance they're real rather than a term coined by a Victorian quack purely to be dismissive of women. These vapours have a rather nasty effect on the skin, but the doctor says he has a cream for that, so I'm sure it'll be perfectly fine. Those pesky vapours are also buggering up both teleporting and phone calls too, but B'Elanna doesn't have a cream to fix that, so you'll just have to deal with it. As that's happening, Kim's trying to take Paris's mind off Kez on the way to the mess hall. Which she's in, and that's not awkward at all. They go to get some food from Neelix, and that's not awkward either. As an aside, when this kicks off, my money's on Neelix. Paris might have the height advantage, but I bet Neelix fights like a dirty little bastard, and he knows his knives. Anyway, Kez leaves and Neelix comes over and picks a fight. We waste some food, then waste some more, before Neelix is at the bastard's throat. Called it. Sadly, we're interrupted by Janeway before Neelix can fuck him up with a potato peeler, and she calls them both to her ready room. Mummy Janeway has no time for little boy fights, though, as she needs them to go down to the planet, what with Paris being the best pilot and Neelix being the plant expert in this quadrant. Don't like it? Tough shit, get out. They leave suitably chastened, while Janeway drinks a delicious cup of man-child tears. We have a planning session in which Kim casually drops the information that they can teleport every 30 hours during regular lulls in the vapours, then Kez catches up with Neelix. She wants to know what the fuck was happening in the mess hall, but Neelix doesn't want to talk till he gets back. Instead, she visits sickbay and has a chat with the doc, who says she should be flattered by the attention, and you're not helping, buddy. Kez laments Neelix's jealousy, and the doc points out that Paris has a thing for her, based on his observations, so Neelix isn't being entirely unreasonable, and again, not really helping, buddy. She asks what she can do, and the doc points out that, just as she wasn't the cause, she may not be able to help with the solution either. 3 out of 3, doc, your advice was fucking terrible. Women should be thankful for unwanted attention, and stay out of the way while the manly men decide who gets her. Look, I know your romantic experience totals 2 holodeck characters, one of which fired you and the other died, and with neither of those lasting longer than a day, but Jesus fucking Christ. Henry VIII could give better relationship advice. Anyway, Paris and Neelix are off to the Hell Planet. They both act like toddlers again before even the planet decides it's had enough of their bullshit and makes them crash. The shuttle's leaking, so they scarper to some caves after applying the doctor's cream when the vapours start to burn them. After sealing themselves in with a rockfall, they do some whining, then hear a noise. It seems they're not alone. For that matter, neither is Voyager. A ship turns up, shoots them a bit, then gets between them and the planet. No message, no warning, no nothing. Maybe they want to fight for Kez too. Back in the cave, Paris and Neelix find a footprint, then some eggs, one of which is hatching. Congratulations, it's a bird lizard. Up on the ship, they're trying to figure out how to get Paris and Neelix back. They might be able to teleport them out, as one of those windows will be around in about an hour, but they'll need to get closer to make it happen, which means dealing with the ship. Not to worry though, as Tuvok's done some science and thinks he can disable it. While they're doing that, Paris and Neelix are poking the new baby bird lizard. Then Neelix suggests adopting it. Yes, really. He's worried they disturbed a nest and wants to take care of it. Are we going to fuck the Prime Directive off again? Make your bets now. Paris relents and agrees they have a responsibility. Those of you who guessed yes to them shitting on the Prime Directive yet again may now applaud yourselves. Eager to set a good example, Paris shows his parenting skills by shining a bright torch directly into its fucking eyes. Neelix does slightly better by wrapping it in his coat. I say slightly, as we have no idea if bird lizards breathe through the hole in their face, so there's a chance he's suffocating it. Oh well. In orbit, Voyager's ready to do the teleport thing, so they draw closer and the alien ship poops some green at them. Tuvok does his science thing and Voyager's yellow poop kabooms the alien weapons. Back in the cave, Paris is trying to force food into what I hope is the bird lizard's mouth. It's not working though, and the baby's getting weaker. Paris figures out that the protein source they detected in scans wasn't plants at all, but actually a part of the vapor, and because they sealed the cave, the baby can't get any. This doesn't make any sense, of course, as if the babies need the vapor to survive, then the cave would need to be filled with it, or they'd starve anyway, which in turn means that Paris and Neelix wouldn't have been able to shelter in it. We aren't supposed to think of that though, so let's ignore it. They clear the rocks and take the kid outside. The vapors don't seem to be doing anything to them now, so I guess that cream's really good, meaning they didn't need to seal the cave in the first place, just saying. Anywho, Bird Lizard is having a bad time of it, and Neelix suggests pumping it full of random drugs. Paris doesn't seem fond of this plan, but does use the sprayer to suck in some of the vapors and squirt them directly into the baby's face hole that might be a mouth. It works just as they start to remember that the vapors are supposed to be bad for them. Don't worry, as Voyager's on the way. Before it arrives, though, we have a chance for a chat. Neelix apologizes and Paris admits he's a piece of shit, but says he wants to not be. They bond a little, which would be slightly more heartwarming if it didn't involve commenting on Kez's attractiveness. Then Voyager comes along to save them. They don't want to leave yet, though, as they're worried Mummy Bird Lizard might not accept the baby now, so we hide behind a rock and watch. Mum's fine with it, so Paris and Neelix scarper back to the ship. Neelix kisses Kez and we all go for a drink. I guess Kez is expected to be fine with everything now the boys are friends. End of episode, and thank God for that, because it was a fucking mess.